production, there are a number of challenges, just because dramatic arts is so multifaceted. But with Cyrano, it's amplified because there are 5 sets and there are 50 actors, many fast costume changes, and I think the number of cast members just augments what normal challenges that we have in any play. The story revolves around, of course, our main character, the title character, Cyrano de Bergerac, and he's a soldier and a poet and a swordsman who is in love with the young Roxanne. The complication is that Roxanne has fallen in love with a beautiful young soldier. I should say that Christian is also not the brightest bulb in the pack. He's not very intelligent, not witty, but he is the one that Roxanne has become infatuated with because of his good looks.
Who reminds you of me? Samson?
Precisely. Would you kindly lend me your jawbone?
On the other hand, Cyrano, who doesn't have the good looks, is the romantic soul and the wit. Concerning action, Act 1 is probably the most complicated scene because there's so many actors on stage, so many characters in that particular act. They've all come to see a play here at this little theater within our theater. Cyrano causes some disruption as well as engages Valvert in a little sword play, and so that's how the play starts and continues until Christian and Cyrano are sent to the battlefield by our villain antagonist, De Guiche.
I hired them to do the sort of work we do not soil our hands with, punishing a drunken poet.
He's married, but he also is in love with Roxanne and has not so honest intentions for her. He sends Christian and Cyrano to the battlefield and even to the hottest spot of the battle, the front lines, and who shows up? None other but Roxanne. She makes her way because she's so in love with Christian, and at that point the story continues to unravel until the end of the play. I think the message Cyrano de Bergerac has to teach us has to do with our outward appearance versus our inner appearance, and that really, it's more important the character that we have, the qualities that we have that are really going to stay with us our whole lives, no matter what our physical appearance is more important than what is on the outside.
Cyrano appeared on the stage in Paris during an age that people have described as being a gray time for the theaters. The plays that were being put on then were dramas about society. They were about illness, they were about poverty, they were about crime. They came from the point of view of what we call naturalistic philosophy that presupposes that life isn't beautiful, so why should you go to the theater and see something that's beautiful? You should see what is really like real life, and that is usually dull and gray. So in that context, in 1897, Edmond Rostand premiered in Paris a play called Cyrano de Bergerac. And it is what we would call by genre a heroic comedy. That means it has a hero, it has swashbuckling scenes, it has poetry, it has romance, it has sword fights, it has war and cannon, and all of the elements that had made theater in the past so exciting to Parisians. And as Rostand was working on putting this production together, the response from the theater world and managers was very negative. They thought that this play would certainly be a failure, and they turned out to be entirely wrong in their predictions because it was a full house on opening night, a crowd who really loved what they were seeing on the stage and who gave the play a 1-hour ovation of applause. So in the years since 1897, Cyrano has been popular around the world. It's played in many different languages. In English, there are scores of translations you can choose from. Classic Players is doing the translation by Brian Hooker. It's a kind of natural American sort of English without the poetry, but with a rhythmic element to it. So it's really a very beautiful play.
My name is Dale Burton, and I work for the stage department, assembling the set as well as maneuvering the set during the production. We have 14 guys on the floor crew that move the set, and then we have props involved And then we have all the lights and audio personnel as well, which I couldn't even give you a number how many of those are. We have a large amount of productions that we keep in storage, and we go through a cycle where we use each of those productions. So this year when it came around to Cyrano, we went to our warehouse and start to pull all the pieces, and there's upwards of 400 different pieces that we had to pull out of the warehouse this year. Each of those being posts and platforms and flats and all kinds of different parts. We go through that, make sure we have everything, and then start to assemble it. And now with those towers, you have a bottom platform. We've got 8 parts that go together for the bottom with the posts and then the arches. And then we put another platform on that. You've got 4 more posts and 4 more arches. And that's a whole unit, and there's 10 of those for the whole set. So we go through and put all that together, make sure the floor and all that is all there, and then touch up all the paint, make sure everything works right, and get it all nice and tight and seamed. And then we put all the final touches on it to make it look great so it's ready for production. It's really cool. It's kind of a scaffold design. We've done a couple different scaffolds in our collection. And this one is kind of the best, I think, of the scaffold designs, because you have an actual decorative look instead of just hard, fast metal lines. This one actually has some decor to it. It looks nice. It's movable. It's portable. And it does several different looks, even though it stays pretty much in the same shape. I think the best thing about working stage and productions is learning to work with multiple people and departments to get the finished product that you want. You know, Mr. Stiegel, who's the director on this one, comes in with a fresh view of what he wants to do. This needs to happen this way. He wants the scene change to look a certain way. We have to figure out how to do what we have to do for our job, people, and finally coming and sitting down and seeing, wow, the scene change, it worked just right. And when Mr. Stiegel says, okay, that's great, that's what we want, do that every time, that's the thumbs up that we're looking for.
Sometimes I start by just making a list of ideas and things the director wants, things that I want to accomplish, looks that we want to get, and from there I have to take that list of ideas and really translate it into specific things that we need to do for the production. And that chart that we make is called a light plot. So we have a computer program, and we actually draw in to a floor plan of the building where each light for the production is going to go. I have a crew of 4 or 5 students, and they each take a part and they go and get the lights ready for their section of the plot. So they hang the lights, they put the color in them, they plug them in, they put in any accessories that are needed. We focus the light, which means we bring up the light and we actually point it at the part of the set that we need to light. We get it in focus and get it looking just the way we need it for the show.
Each year about this time, Mr. Streeter gives us a light plot for the upcoming play. Based on that plot, we set each of our lights to be in the specific area that it needs to be. After picking the place that we set the light, the next thing to do is to put the proper barrel in each light. Most of our lights, known as source 4s, are static lights, meaning we set them and they stay there. We gel them and they have a certain color.
And we have a student that's on the light board. The light board is basically a computer, and we are able to bring up the lights on the light board, and when we get everything looking just the way it needs to look for a particular moment in the play, we record that as a cue.
For most productions, my crew consists of 6 people. There's a board operator, which is responsible for taking each of the light cues that have been previously recorded. There's a follow spot coordinator who talks with the follow spots and then controls the follow spot levels. And between 1 and 4 follow spots, which sit up in the beams and control an individual light on an actor to kind of make that actor stand out or pop.
What is it? What seems to have died around here? A nosegay!
My name is David Vero, and I work as a prop master here at Bob Jones University Stage and have done so for 35 years. Basically, during the production, I'm in charge of all the hand props, set props that the actors use.
I'm Megan White. I'm the props crew chief here at Rodehaver. Me and the other girls on the props crew, we keep track of everything an actor touches or references on stage.
I was thinking about the ones that would be most significant, and I think it probably would be the rapiers, because that kind of sets the time period. And then also all this props that go with pastry shop that a lot of the action takes place in. And so all those props are important as well, because that's kind of where the whole play kind of revolves around that shop.
There's so many different props, so many different pieces of fake food that we have to put out there. And even some real food, we actually have to go to the bakery at Publix and have them make a specific shape of this harp kind of bread.
The ones that I enjoy making are ones that are very detail-oriented, like the candles. It takes a lot. You start with a little cardboard tube and you add this and that and wires and batteries and a computer chip and all kinds of stuff to make, and so there's a lot of detail involved in that, and I like detail. The swords, of course, any guy is going to say, I love weapons, or any, so the swords also I like making or polishing, but I have workers that will sit down and just polish for one whole afternoon on swords just to kind of shine them up. The weapons and anything that with a lot of detail are kind of my specialty.
What we do in props is so very important, but it gets commonly overlooked because it's so small. But it's those tiny little details, even what they're pouring into a cup. That's the type of stuff that we have to keep track of. It's very detail-oriented.
Well, it's me being not so artistic inclined. I find that I delegate more of the painting, the art stuff to those that have the talent, because I'm the detail person. And I really look forward to coming to work every day, and I just love my job.
My interest in makeup began when I was in junior high school, in drama club. Our work on this production of Cyrano De Bergerac will literally take several hundred hours, involving costume department, wig and makeup departments in preparation for what we need for the play. Oh, one thing that's unique about Cyrano de Bergerac is it's not a Shakespeare play, but written by Edmond Rostand. It's very specific as to that one facial feature on the leading actor that is different from all other characters in the production, and that's the nose. After all, a great man is known by his great nose. Cyrano's nose is something that's challenged and inspired makeup artists ever since the early days of production. This will be my third interpretation of the nose makeup for Cyrano. Other features of makeup for the production, you have the cadets, you have the people in the theater at the beginning of the play in Act 1, and then you have people in the bakery. The people in the theater, especially those who are actors on the stage, can look stylized with more makeup like actors would be on the stage. Those like in the bakery, they would be more simple, ordinary folks. The cadets, of course, would be very dashing, sometimes with a twisted mustache and a little goatee, and of course their cavalier hair, along with their hat and their plumes.
The theater people and the marquise and Valverde, they could get a little shot of either Cinnabar or Mole, depending on their costume color. If you're like freaked out about doing that, don't do it. Actually, you need to practice.
Students play a very vital part in our departments, both in costume, makeup, and wigs. In the costume department, many of our students are apparel, textile, and design majors. They work shoulder to shoulder with the staff ladies in the costume department to create the costumes that are used in university productions. Many students on our makeup crew are theater arts majors, and we're able to train further in techniques such as airbrush makeup application. The students then become the crew, the makeup crew for the production, each time we have a technical rehearsal or an actual performance.
We're gonna do basic makeup for the ladies. We're gonna do lipstick, and then for guys it'll be straight makeup.
I'm Sarah Beth, and I'm working on Elena Taylor tonight. She is the lead role.
My name is Gracie Hill, and this is Rebecca Ferrari. We're going to be putting beards on people for Cyrano later tonight.
My name is Schofield. I am a makeup artist. I'm a senior theater arts major, and I will be executing old age makeup on one of our actresses.
In the production that the audience sees tonight, you'll experience something that will never quite happen again in the same way. Totally unlike the cinema, where at home, maybe on a DVD version, you put the film in and literally it plays exactly the same as it did when you first saw the movie. A live theatrical event is anything but that. The crew that assists and works on the production backstage and the performers on stage are crafting something never to be seen and experienced again. We become part of a team that can do work of a greater focus and outreach than perhaps we ever could accomplish individually.
This is the first time I have played the character. As a matter of fact, this is the first time someone other than one of the Drs. Jones has played the role in the history of the school. So it's a big opportunity for me, and I'm looking forward to it. My most difficult scene is scene 1. It has the full range. He's attacking rhetorically people who make fun of him. He's fighting with people. We see his love interest come out in scene 1. So once I get past scene 1, I feel like I can relax and take the next 4 scenes and do pretty well at those. None of us is perfect. None of us is a model. We all have flaws. We all have elements of our life that we feel are maybe less important. And we see a character up on stage dealing with some of those flaws. In this case, Cyrano, it's his appearance, his nose. And he's basically adapted to this physical issue. And rather than let it control him, he is in control of the situation.
What? You accuse me of absurdity. Small my nose? Why, magnificent my nose.
And so when he comes into a crowd and someone makes fun of it, he's going to make sure he gets the upper hand, gets in control of what people think about him. I think he's a bit of a universal character because he is so much like so many people in the audience. Imperfect, yet trying to fit in with people around him. The biggest lesson that I've come away from Cyrano has been to live a life of honor. For Christians, that means something very different from the world, and that is to be true to your beliefs and have passion about those beliefs. So I take away a lot of spiritual lessons from this particular character because he's so committed to honor and to doing what's right that he doesn't care what people think about him. He's only interested in doing what is right and honorable in each situation. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us to take away. Well, for Cyrano in the play, his honor, I think is best represented in the white plume in his hat. He talks about being garlanded with his good name and his honor. So at the very end of the play, he says, "I'm taking one thing with me." And he holds up his white plume on his hat. But the audience will know that that is his honor, that he's taking it with him. It's not about the hat itself, but it's what it represents. And when he dies, that's the last thing that's on his mind, is that he's taking that particular plume of life with him, and that's his honor.